Good morning, everybody. Well, I was just sitting here reading about something online that's actually very sad, and thought I would do a little video about it because there's somebody that kind of relates to this I wanted to talk about. This has to do with domestic abuse. This happened in Winston-Salem at Forsyth Hospital. Sequina Kuchin, she was 28 years old, gave birth last week to a baby girl. The father of her little girl was Tasman Boone. He had been charged back in April of threatening Sequina. He had told her, apparently in front of a police officer, I will blow your brains out and you won't even make it to court. That's what he told him. He was arrested on that and brought upon charges. He had just served, I think, 8 years and some odd months in prison for holding people up at ATMs, you know, taking their money and their jewelry and stuff back in 2003 or 2004. And he had just got out, I believe, in 2011. So, and then I guess met up with Sequina and they were trying to start a life together or whatever. And he made that threat to her that he was going to kill her. And apparently they had split up. He was out on a $30,000 bond. But let me tell you what, this happened in April when he told her he was going to kill her and she wouldn't make it to court. In December, I believe that it was. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. In December, he put his vehicle in reverse and hit Miss Kuchin on December the 12th. She was pregnant at the time. He hit her with a car. On January the 10th, he was charged with assault with a deadly weapon on an unborn child. So he had attacked her, apparently trying to make her miscarry the baby. And so he was put in the Forsyth County Jail and posted a $30,000 bond. Well, he got out on bond. So he didn't get out on bond until April. So she had the baby last week at Forsyth Hospital. And that hospital, they say, does not have metal detectors, but they do have security guards. Well, a security guard's not going to do you any good. A security guard is usually going to just be there for after the fact of something. Anyway, he gets into the hospital and he goes into her room at 11:30 at night. Now, to me, those doors should be locked at 11:30 at night. Why is people going in to visit somebody at 11:30 at night? The security guard should have asked him that. He goes in to her room, and apparently he shoots her and kills her, and then shoots himself. It's murder-suicide. Now this little baby laying there in the hospital has no parents because of his domestic abuse and his actions. So that's sad. That's just really, really, really sad. When he made that threat, I will kill you and you won't even make it to court, you know, they shouldn't have let him out. No, he had already served 8 years in jail for holding up people with guns and stuff. There's something wrong with this man. There's something bad wrong with this man, and he should have never got out. She also had, I think, 2 other children at home. They were not his children, but nonetheless, 2 other children at home. So now these children have no mother. His mother claims that she had a temporary no-contact order against Miss Kuchin because she said Miss Kuchin attacked her, her daughter, and her precious son, throwing hot oil on her precious son, which she probably had a very good reason, but she shouldn't have done that either. So there was abuse on both sides there, I'm sure. But it gives nobody the right to take somebody's life in such a way. And if it were my family member, I would ask those security guards, why was he let in there at that time of night to go into her room? There's no good that can come out of somebody coming to visit you at 11:30 at night. You're supposed to be asleep. domestic abuse is a very ugly thing. I mean, you know, there could be a lot of people out there going through domestic abuse that we see every day and that we just don't know. I'm going to give you an example of somebody, domestic abuse, that turned just eerily scary. Was my kid's, yes, Mr. Furry, get down, darling. Was my kid's high school science teacher. His name was Barry Winters. And I remember the kids coming home talking about his weird socks. He would have on weird socks and stuff. And he was married at the time, but apparently after their high school years and stuff, Barry Winters decided to move away. Now, I believe it was New York, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that, and don't quote me on that. Anyway, let's just say he moved to another state, and he got a job in another school system and continued to teach his science, teaching the children as he had taught my children. He met a woman that was there. She was also a science teacher. And they, of course, apparently started dating and had a lot in common. And they had a relationship. And they ended up living together. Well, not sure what all happened in the relationship, but apparently she put him out. You know, domestic abuse doesn't just grow overnight. If he's, you know, abusing her, he's more than likely abused his ex-wife that was lucky enough to get away from him. So anyway, the woman that he was living with, she ended up putting him out, and apparently she didn't change the locks, or he broke in, or something happened, because one night in the middle of the night, while she laid in bed asleep in the upstairs part of her apartment, Barry Winters came into her home, and when she woke up, he was standing over her. When she sat up, he had a gasoline container, and he threw that container of gasoline on her and struck a match, lighting her on fire. My kid's science teacher now. He lit the woman on fire. Well, the sheriff lived next door to her. So this is the middle of the night. The woman, they say, gets up, runs downstairs and out the house and down the street screaming while her clothes are on fire. She's trying to get away from Mr. Winters. She's running to the sheriff's house. Well, Barry Winters is running behind her, still trying to catch her to kill her or whatever, and he too is on fire. Now, they say that they're not sure whether he intentionally set himself on fire to have a murder-suicide, or whether it backlashed, or whatever you call it, when he doused her with gasoline through the match, whether, you know, the gasoline flew back on him and he accidentally set his clothes on fire. They're not sure what happened there. Not sure if he ever said. After she lived long enough in the hospital to tell her story about him standing over her, blah, 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 domestic abuse, this, that, and the other, she ended up dying from her injury some days later. And Barry Winters lived, I think, for a couple of years. Not sure how long he lived, but I know he was arrested. And I don't think he had even had his court date yet. I think he had been in court a couple of times. And it had showed it on the news and stuff. And he would still be all wrapped up, you know, in bandages, but still be in shackles. And he ended up dying from complications from his burns some couple of years later. So, yeah, he ended up dying, too. But, see, and he taught my kids science, you know. You never know. You know, you go to school, you look at this teacher in the face every day, and you don't know what they're really like outside that schoolhouse. You don't know what, really, basically, your coworkers, you don't know what's going on in their lives outside the workplace. You don't know. I don't know what's going on in yours, and you don't know what's going on in mine. Nobody really knows what's going on in somebody else's life. My husband passed away. It'll be 11 years this December. And that's why I'm not, you know, I don't want to look for another man, because I loved my husband dearly. We had a wonderful marriage. No, first of all, nobody can compare to him, so why would I want somebody else? But second of all, you can't trust people these days. You just can't do it. And I don't want to find somebody that's going to end up tormenting me, and I can't get out of this relationship because, one, you already know where I live. No. So I'm not looking for anybody, you know. Just like my mom has passed away, but she's still my mom, you know. My husband passed away, but he's still my husband. That's the way I feel. I even still wear my rings. But that's just me, you know. But I am the queen of never say never, so you never know what the future might hold. I might find somebody else. I probably won't. Another case of domestic abuse was my cousin murdered his wife. This was back in the mid-'80s, early 80s to mid-'80s. He was married for quite some time. They had 4 children. She ended up giving one of their children up for adoption because of the fact that he told her that was not his child and made her give it up. And so she did because she loved him that much. So, and I had even told her at one point early on, I said, he's going to kill you. And she said, well, what can I say? I love him. That's what she said. And he had threatened her many, many times that he was going to kill her. After they separated, after she finally got smart and was able to try to get away from him and move out on her own, and they had been apart for a while, he had still made threats to her that he was going to kill her. She went to the police department on several occasions and told them of the threats that he had made the day before, last week, and whatever. They ended up telling her, they said, Miss Johnson, if you feel like you are in this much danger, the next time you complain, we're going to have social services step in and take your children out of the house. So, apparently they didn't take her that seriously. And she did not want to lose her children. So, and it was just right after that he actually showed up at her house and shoved a gun through the front door and shot her in front of their little girl. So, and she died immediately. And she was only 27, I believe, at the time. Maybe not even that old. She was in her 20s. And that was so sad. Domestic abuse, the people that domestically abuse you, I mean, some cases you simply can't get away from them. Some people say, well, if you've been a victim of domestic abuse, and you see this person out with somebody else, why don't you warn them, Because if you do it to one, you're going to do it to another. You can't warn anybody of domestic abuse. It'd be like if you are domestically abused by your husband and you are lucky enough to get away and he is seeing somebody else and you try to warn them, the husband is going to say, oh, she's jealous, she's bitter, blah, 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 she's making these things up. And who's the new girlfriend going to believe? She's going to believe the man, of course. You cannot warn anybody of domestic abuse. And sadly, it just has to be found out the hard way on their own. And hopefully, these people will be put behind bars. Why was this man even out? That's what I want to know. Why was this man even out when you got somebody that's serving a longer time for that just by having marijuana in their car? It doesn't make any sense. It seems like the more violent and the worse the criminal is, the more likely they are to get out and to walk the streets. And that is just weird. The devil truly does roam the earth. And until next time, bye-bye.